Hi, my name is Graham Smith, and I'm one of the authors that helped develop the learning approach to mathematics that is found in our textbook as well as the video you are about to experience. To learn more about our approach to learning mathematics, visit the web address that accompanies this video. Now, enjoy the video. Understanding decimal numbers. This video will help you understand the place values of decimal numbers, write decimal numbers in words, convert between decimals and fractions, round decimal numbers, and order decimal numbers. Understand the place values of decimal numbers. Digits to the left of the decimal point represent whole numbers. Digits to the right of the decimal point represent parts of a whole. So you can see down here 12.3. 12 is the whole number part of that. That's to the left of the decimal. Then the decimal. Then we have to the right of that the decimal part, and that part represents portions of a whole number. The decimal part of 12.3 is read 3/10 because 0.3 represents the fraction 3/10. Place values to the right of the decimal point can be written as a fraction. Now let's take a look at a place value chart that will help us identify whole numbers and decimals in our place value system. So notice on the left, before the decimal, all of our whole number places end in the letter S. So we have 10,000s, thousands, hundreds, tens, and then finally ones. Decimal place values all end in THS. So again, reading from left to right, we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and 10,000s. Now notice that the place values are symmetric on either side of the ones place. A lot of times students make the mistake and try to use the decimal point as the center of our place value system. That's not the case. It's actually the ones place. And if we move left or right from the ones place, the place values are symmetric. So if I jump one place to the left from the ones place, I have the tens place. If I jump one place to the right from the ones place, I have the tenths place. So if you always start in the ones place and move out, it's very easy and very symmetric. Now let's take a look at some examples that will help us understand the decimal place values in our number system. Example 1. What is the place value of the digit 5 in this number? Well, I'm going to start first at the ones place. That 8 is in the ones place. And now I'm going to start to count to the right, identifying the place values as I go. So I'll go to the next place value. So from the ones now, the 4 then is in the tenths place. Jumping another place value. The 9 is in the hundredths place. And finally the 5 then is in the thousands place. So the 5 is in the thousands place of that number. Example 2. Write 4.35 in expanded form. Well, if we're going to write a number in expanded form, we're actually going to identify the value of each of the digits. So we'll start with the 4, which is in the ones place. So the value of that digit is just 4. Now I'm going to use an addition sign. Now I'm going to go to the next place, which is the 3. Well, that 3 is in the tenths place. So I'm going to write that as the fraction 3/10. Put another addition sign, go to the next digit, which is the 5. That digit is in the hundredths place. So I'm going to write that as the fraction 5 over 100. And there is 4.35 written in expanded form. Question 3. Write 6.892 in words. Okay, so we'll start with the whole number, 6. So in words, I'll just write that number. When I get to the decimal point, I use the word and. Now, to write the decimal part of this number, I'm going to write the number, 892. I start just by looking at the number and writing that number, disregarding the decimal places at this point. Okay, 892. Once I have that number written, now I identify the place value of the last digit in that number, which is the 2. So let's start from the ones place and count our way over. So we have the tenths, hundredths, thousands place. So the 2 is in the thousands place. And so I put that on the end of my written statement here. So to write that number in words, it is 6 and 892 thousandths. Now it's time to check your understanding of the decimal place values in our number system. Hit pause on your video player and answer these guided practice questions. When you're done, hit play to see how you did. Question 1. What is the place value of the digit 2 in this number? Well, we're going to start with the ones place, which is the 8, and we're going to count our way over. So we go tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So the digit 2 is in the 10,000ths place. Question 2. Write 10.297 in expanded form. Well, we'll start with the digit 1, and the value of that digit, since it's in the tens place, is 10. The next digit we come to is the 2, which is in the tenths place. So that is 2 tenths. The next digit we come to is the 9, which is in the hundredths place. So that's 9 hundredths. And the final digit is the 7, which is in the thousandths place. So 7 thousandths. So there is that number written in expanded form. Question 3. Write 9.34 in words. We start by writing the word 9. We get to the decimal point, we write the word and. Then we're going to write the whole number, which is 34. And we look at the last digit, the place value of that last digit, and that 4 is in the hundredths place. So this is hundredths. So we have 9 and 34 hundredths. Convert between decimals and fractions. A decimal number, written in words, describes the equivalent mixed number. So let's take a look at that. So here's my decimal number, and instead of saying 2.75, I'll read that 2 and 75 hundredths. That's exactly how I'm saying that in words. 2 and 75 hundredths. Well, 2 and 75 hundredths is easy to understand as a mixed number. We have 2 and 75 hundredths. So you can see that as long as you're reading that decimal number in words, it's very easy to use those words to convert it to a mixed number. Now let's take a look at some examples that will help us convert between decimals and mixed numbers. Example 4. Write 9.25 as a fraction or mixed number. Well, to do that, I don't want to read that number 9.25. I want to read that number 9 and 25 hundredths. So 9 and 25 hundredths is easy to understand as a mixed number. Now that 25 hundredths can be simplified. So I'm going to come over here on some scratch work, and I'm going to simplify 25 over 100. So let's see. Let's start by factoring the numerator and denominator. So 25, when I factor that, is 5 times 5. And 100, when I factor that, let's see, I'm thinking 4 times 5. Well, 4 is 2 times 2. And then that was 4 times 25. Well, 25 is 5 times 5. Divide out my common factors. Looks like I have 2 5s in common. So it looks like when I simplify this, I'll get 1/4. So this is actually going to simplify down to 9 and 1/4. Example 5. Write 15 and 3 10,000ths as a decimal. Okay, well, we'll start with 15. That's the whole number part. Put my decimal. Now I need to write 3 10,000ths. So let's start adding some zeros here until we get to the 10,000ths place. So here I'm in the tenths place, the hundredths place, the thousandths place. The next digit then is going to be in the 10,000ths place. So that's where I want to write my 3. Now it's time to check your understanding converting between decimal numbers and mixed numbers. Hit pause on your video player and answer these guided practice questions. When you're done, hit play to see how you did. Question 4. Write 8.8 as a fraction or mixed number. Well, 8.8, if I read that, is 8 and 8 tenths. So when I write this as a mixed number, it will be 8 and 8 tenths. And I can simplify 8 tenths. So over here on some scratch work, I'm going to factor the 8, and I'm thinking 4 times 2, which would be 2 times 2 for the 4, times one more 2, and then 10, I'm thinking 2 times 5. Divide out the common factors of 2, it looks like I'm left with 4/5. So when I simplify this, it's going to give me 8 and 4/5. Question 5. Write 4 and 34 thousandths as a decimal. Well, we'll start with the whole number 4, put our decimal. Now we're going to add zeros until we get to, it looks like since we have 34, we want to start writing in the hundredths place. So I'll show you how this works. So we'll start, this is the tenths place. Now I want to end at the thousandths place, so I'm going to need to put that 3 in the hundredths place, and then when I put the 4 down, it will be in the thousandths place. So that is 4 and 34 thousandths. Round decimal numbers. So we're going to start by taking a look at a step-by-step example on how to round a number. So we're going to round 5.37082 to the thousandths place. Well, step 1 is going to be to identify the digit that needs to be rounded, which in this case, since they're asking us to round to the thousandths place, we need to identify the digit in the thousandths place. So we start at the ones place and count our way over. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So that 0 is in the thousandths place. So that is the digit we're going to round. Step 2 is to decide if the digit to be rounded increases by 1 or stays the same. Well, the digit increases when the digit to the right of it is 5 through 9. The digit stays the same when the digit to the right is 0 through 4. So let's take a look. The 0 is the digit that we're rounding. We're going to look to the right, and we see that that's an 8. So that is definitely 5 through 9. That's a large digit. That's going to tell us we need to round this 0 up 1. So it's going to need to increase from 0 to 1. Now step 3 is to write the rounded value. So we're going to have 5.371. Now if this was a whole number, we would need to write those zeros on the end. However, since it's a decimal number, I don't need to write those zeros. Writing 3 zeros on the end of this number is not going to change the value in any way. And it's simpler to end it this way and not include the zeros. So typically when we round a decimal number and everything to the right is ending up being zeros, we don't need to include those zeros. Now it's time to check your understanding of rounding decimal numbers. Hit pause on your video player and answer these guided practice questions. When you're done, hit play to see how you did. Question 6. Round 1,345 and 687 thousandths to the hundredths place. Now be careful, that's the hundredths place, not the hundredths place. So the hundredths place is over here where the 3 is. So that is the digit we want to round. And if we look to the right of that digit, it's 4, so that 3 is going to remain the same. And then the digits after that need to be 0. I need to include my whole number digits, but I don't need to include any zeros after the decimal point. So when I round that to the hundredths place, I'm going to get 1,300. Question 7. Round 50.006578 to the 10 thousandths place. Well, let's count our way over to the 10 thousandths place. Start in the ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. So the 5 is in the 10 thousandths place. When we look to the right of the 5, it's a 7. That tells us that digit 5 needs to increase by 1. So I'm going to get 0.006. Now that 5 needs to increase 1, so it's going to become a 6. And since we're on the right side of the decimal, I don't need to include any digits after that rounded digit. So I get 50.0066. Order decimal numbers. To order decimal numbers, we write each decimal number to the same place value. For example, to order 0.1 and 0.09, we add a missing 0 to 0.1 so that both numbers are written as hundredths. So let's take a look. I'm starting out with two numbers. I want to compare them. And right now they're not written to the same place value. I have 1/10 on the left and I have 9/100ths on the right. Well, let's go ahead and add a 0 over here to the tenths. And now both numbers are written to the hundredths place. Put a little comparison box there in the middle. Now both numbers are written to the hundredths place, so now it's easy to compare. I have 10/100ths or 9/100ths. Well, it's easy to see that 10/100ths is greater than 9/100ths. So we write each of the numbers to the same place value. It makes it a lot easier to compare them. Now let's take a look at an example that will help you understand how to order decimal numbers. Example 8. Order these three numbers from smallest to largest. Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is write each of these numbers to the same place value. So I'm going to line all of these numbers up, lining the decimals up. And that's going to make it easier for me to write each of these to the same place value. And you can see that my middle number here is written all the way out to the 10,000ths place. So I want to make sure I add some zeros on the other numbers so they're all written to the same place value. So my top number I'm going to have to add 2 zeros, and my bottom one I'm going to have to add 1. Now they're all written to the same place value. Now it's going to be easy to see which one is smallest, in the middle, and the largest. So let's start. We're supposed to order these from smallest to largest. So the one that is the smallest is the one in the center there. So I'm going to write that one first. The next largest is the bottom one, the 0.89, so 0.8970. And then finally the top one is the largest. Hit pause on your video player and answer this guided practice question. When you're done, hit play to see how you did. Question 8. Order these three decimal numbers from smallest to largest. So again, we're going to start by writing them all to the same place value. So it looks like all I need to do is add 1 0 to the top number. Now it should be easy to compare these. So the very smallest one is going to be the bottom. The next largest one is the middle. Finally, the largest is the top one. If you found this video helpful, I encourage you to check out our other videos that we have on YouTube, or visit the web address that accompanies this video to learn more about our approach to learning mathematics.